In the late 14th century, at the heart of the Middle Ages, Europe languished under the weight of strife and sorrow. The 100 Years' War tore through lands, the Black Death of the mid-14th century left villages desolate, and taxes and famine pressed upon the shoulders of common folk. Yet, amidst these shadows, people sought light. In the clamor of nightly tournaments, the laughter of fairground crowds, the flicker of village bonfires, the opulence of royal feasts, and the prayers of religious festivals, joy was born. Games and entertainments were not mere diversions, they were the threads that bound hearts, giving strength to endure. This chronicle transports us to the 14th century to reveal how people, from mighty knights to nameless peasants, found solace in merriment, creating an echo that resonates through the ages. Nightly tournaments, glory, blood, and dreams on the lists.
Fair knights, I salute you!
On broad plains near castles, where morning mist clung to the grass and the scent of earth mingled with polished steel, tournament fields arose. Wooden stands, draped with scarlet and azure banners, creaked under the weight of spectators. Lords in velvet cloaks, ladies in silken headdresses, peasants in rough tunics, all flocked to the lists. Tournaments, reaching their zenith in the 13th and 14th centuries, were more than spectacles. They embodied the chivalric code, courage, loyalty, defense of the weak. Yet behind the gleam of banners lay a harsh truth: every bout could be a man's last. Knights prepared from dawn. Squires, sweating profusely, tightened straps on armor, breastplates, pauldrons, greaves, weighing up to 50 pounds. Warhorses, draped in caparisons emblazoned with heraldic arms, snorted, sensing the tension. Lances, 10 feet long and adorned with ribbons, rested by the tents. The horn's blast shattered the silence, and two riders charged toward each other. Sound of a lance splintering, a horse whinnying, a dull thud. Splinters flew, armor rang, and the crowd erupted in cheers. The victor, removing his helm, received a goblet, a purse of gold, or a wreath from a lady whose scarf he wore on his shoulder. In the early 1470s, Sir John de Montfort, a knight from Leicester, won a tournament and gifted his prize, a silver circlet, to Lady Elizabeth. Minstrels sang their names, and tales of his valor reached the royal court. But tournaments were arenas of death. In the early 1440s, near London, Sir Godfrey de Lancaster fell from his horse, pierced by a lance's shard. Blood soaked the sand, his squire wept as he led the horse away, and the crowd fell silent. Chronicles brim with such tragedies. King Edward III, in the 1440s, sought to soften the rules, banning pointed lances and fatal strikes, but the passion for combat was untamable. Tournaments were not just about glory. Lords on the stands negotiated marriages, alliances, and wars, weaving political webs amid the din of hoofs. Peasants, crowding the barriers, saw knights as a dream, of ascent, of a life where strength and honor ruled. Women, whose scarves fluttered on lances, felt part of a legend, though their fates were often decided in those same tents. Tournaments bound society. They reminded all that, even in an age of war, there was room for ritual, where valor shone brighter than fear. In the 1470s, after the Black Death, tournaments grew even more vital, proving that life endured. The creak of armor, the thunder of hooves, the clash of steel, these were the sounds of a world refusing to yield. Who, watching the riders, did not dream of glory? Who did not feel their blood stir as a lance shattered a shield? Fairs, a celebration of life amid toil and loss. In towns and villages, where narrow streets sank into mud and the air carried the scent of fresh bread, roasted meat, and damp wool, fairs blossomed. After the harvest or on saints' days, Michael, Catherine, Martin, squares filled with canvas stalls and carts, their wheels groaning under loads of goods. Merchants laid out wool from Flanders, daggers from Toledo, jars of honey, and bundles of dried fish. Children darted between stalls, women in linen headscarves haggled over prices, and men, wiping sweat from their brows, sipped ale from clay mugs. But a fair was more than a market. It was a festival, where artisans, peasants, and vagabonds merged in a shared surge of joy through games, songs, and spectacles. Jugglers, in tattered cloaks sewn with bells, tossed flaming torches, their shadows dancing on the walls of timber houses. Acrobats somersaulted over barrels, while minstrels, plucking lute strings, sang of Roland's deeds or the love of Tristan and Isolde, stilling the crowd with soaring voices. Children played. Blind Man's Buff, where one, eyes bound with a rag, chased giggling friends, stumbling over baskets and ropes. Adults gathered at tables, where dice, carved from deer bone or oak, decided fortunes. In the mid-1460s, in Norwich, a weaver named Walter lost his best cloak and 2 sacks of wool at dice. Neighbors laughed, and he, red-faced, swore to win them back, but luck turned away. Contests of strength were the fair's heart. Tug-of-war, with teams of a dozen men digging into the earth, tested a village's unity. Wrestling, where men in linen shirts gripped each other's belts, drew raucous crowds. Cover-tossing, hurling a log, crowned the mightiest. In the early 1470s, in York, a blacksmith named Thomas of Walden tossed a cobber 20 feet, earning a jug of ale and a leather belt from the elders. Women joined in, too. In some villages, they raced with baskets or competed in weaving wreaths, their laughter ringing across the field. Fairs were more than amusement. They forged communities, taught endurance, and gave artisans and peasants a stage to shine. After the Black Death of the mid-14th century, which claimed a third of Europe, fairs became symbols of revival. They reminded people that life was not just toil and fear. Merchants, guilds, and even the church-backed fairs seeing them as a way to boost trade and morale. In the 1470s, the fair at St. Ives drew up to 5,000 souls, and even lords came to buy horses or hear minstrels. The jingle of coins, the rhythm of bagpipes, the shouts of hawkers, these were the pulse of a world reborn. Who, standing in the throng, did not feel this day a gift? Who left a fair without a spark of hope that life would go on? Bonfire festivals, ancient rituals and unity under the stars. As night enveloped villages and stars glimmered above thatched roofs, fields and courtyards glowed with bonfires. The scent of burning wood, mingled with herbs, fresh bread, and boiled ale, filled the air. Festivals, May Day, Yule, St. John's Day, the harvest feast, drew people into a circle. Men in linen tunics, women in dresses with embroidered hems, children with ribbons in their hair, all left their huts, casting aside the day's burdens. These gatherings, rooted in pagan times, were steeped in superstition, faith, and hope for better days. Round dances were the festival's soul. Girls in wreaths of daisies, dandelions, and clover, men with scarlet ribbons on their sleeves, spun to the tune of flute, drum, and fiddle. The movement was rhythmic, almost sacred, as if the dance bound people to earth, sky, and ancestors. Leaping over the fire was a ritual. Flames, it was believed, cleansed evil spirits, brought luck, and warded off disease. In the early 1470s, near Oxford, a girl named Margaret dropped her wreath into the fire, and the village saw it as a sign of a bountiful harvest. Elders nodded, and children shouted with glee. Divinations added mystery. Women tossed bundles of wormwood, thyme, or rosemary into the flames, reading fates in the smoke curling toward the stars. Men sang songs passed down from great-grandfathers, tales of heroes battling dragons or love stronger than death. Contests enlivened the night. Stone-throwing, where lads tested their strength, drew spectators to the fire's edge. Log fighting, where 2 balanced on a beam and swung sacks at each other, sparked laughter. In the 1470s, in Kent, a farmer named Robert fell into the mud and became the stuff of local legend, his tumble retold for years. Women competed in dances or weaving. In one village, the best weaver, crafting a wreath in a minute, won a woolen shawl from the elders. Children played wolf and sheep, where one, growling, chased squealing friends. These festivals were not mere revelry. They united villages, preserving roots. The church, condemning pagan rites, tolerated bonfires, seeing them as a way to keep souls from sin. After the Black Death, which claimed millions, nights by the fire grew even more precious. They were a breath of freedom for peasants whose days were spent in fields or under the weight of taxes. In the 1470s, the Yule festival in Lincolnshire lasted 3 nights, and even the priests joined the round dance. The crackle of flames, the chant of songs, the warmth of the circle, these were the heartbeat of a community. Who, standing in the round, did not feel this moment eternal? Who, gazing into the fire, did not see their soul reflected in its glow?
Ladies and gentlemen!
Street performances, theater that spoke to the people. On city streets, where cobblestones gleamed with rain and the air smelled of warm bread, leather, and forged smoke, performances came to life. During religious festivals, Easter, Christmas, All Saints' Day, squares turned into stages. Mystery plays, theatrical retellings of biblical stories, drew crowds from children in tattered tunics to elders with staffs. Craft guilds prepared the spectacles, carpenters staged Noah's Ark, weavers depicted the Nativity, blacksmiths portrayed David and Goliath. In the late 1470s, in York, a mystery play about the Last Judgment moved spectators to tears and prayers. People tossed coins to the actors, and priests blessed the throng. Scenes unfolded on carts that rolled from square to square, their wheels creaking on stone. Costumes were simple: canvas, paint, wooden wings for angels, clay horns for devils, but the actor's passion captivated. A blacksmith playing Cain roared so fiercely that his voice echoed off cathedral walls. The devil, in a red mask with horns, frightened children, while Christ in a white cloak inspired all. Actors, often craftsmen themselves, rehearsed by night, arguing over gestures and lines. In the 1470s, in Chester, the Bakers' Guild spent 10 shillings on paint for scenery, ensuring their Bethlehem scene outshone others. Secular farces found their place, too. Wandering troupes, in cloaks sewn with bells, performed comedies about greedy monks, foolish husbands, or cunning wives. In the 1460s, in Paris, a troupe was banished for a farce that mocked a bishop. His plump figure, painted on canvas, drew roars of laughter. The church condemned such plays, but the people loved them. Farces gave voice to commoners, letting them laugh at the mighty. In the mid-1470s, in London, a jester named Will Clown gained fame for a scene where he stole a lord's purse, only to return it amid cheers. Performances were more than entertainment. They taught faith, mocked vice, and united townsfolk. After the Black Death, when cities stood half empty, theater revived the streets. The drums beat, the actors' cries, the crowd's laughter. These were the sounds of a world stirring back to life. Who, watching a cart stage, did not feel the world revive? Who did not chuckle as a jester in a belled cap outwitted a lord? Royal feasts, opulence, intrigue, and the dance of power. In castles, where stone walls bore tapestries of saints and candles, hundreds strong, cast shadows on vaulted ceilings, feasts unfolded. Halls, their windows aglow with stained glass, brimmed with the scents of roasted venison, pigeon pies, goblets of Bordeaux wine, and Tuscan mead. Saffron, cinnamon, and cloves brought from distant lands perfumed the air. Servants in linen tunics darted between tables, minstrels played harps and lutes, and jesters in belled caps somersaulted, making lords laugh until they gasped. But feasts were not just about opulence. They were stages where nobles vied in wit, skill, and grace, each gesture part of a game of power. Games enlivened the halls. Storming the castle, where young nobles split into teams to assault a wooden fortress in the courtyard, was a beloved spectacle. In the mid-1470s, in Windsor, Prince Richard, the future Richard II, grew so zealous that he broke the gates and dislocated his arm, yet his laughter echoed through the court. Squires, drenched in sweat, hauled logs for the fortress, while ladies on the stands tossed flowers to the victors. Chess, brought from the east via Arab lands, was a game of minds. Lords and ladies spent hours moving carved ivory or ash pieces, debating tactics as if plotting a kingdom's fate. In the 1460s, Queen Philippa defeated Edward III, and the court buzzed with awe. Her queen's move became legendary. Dances crowned the feast. The pavane, slow and stately, demanded precision. Ladies in gowns with trailing sleeves, lords in gold-embroidered doublets moved like chess pieces. The galliard, fast and lively, showcased agility. In the early 1470s, at a London feast, Lady Alice de Percy refused to dance with Lord Henry Bolingbroke, sparking rumors of a broken betrothal. Dances were not mere amusement. Glances, hand touches, and partner choices spoke of politics, passion, and intrigue. Servants, lingering by the walls, whispered of alliances forged in the dance. Feasts strengthened the court. They reminded all that, even in a world of wars and plague, beauty had its place. In the 1470s, as England braced for battles with France, feasts displayed the crown's might. The clink of goblets, the strum of strings, the rustle of silk, these were the sounds of a realm asserting its splendor. Who, watching the dance, did not see life's reflection? Who, raising a goblet, did not feel this moment the pinnacle of the world? Religious festivals, faith that illuminated hearts. The Church, mistress of souls in the Middle Ages, not only taught but also bestowed joy. Religious festivals, Easter, Christmas, St. Martin's Day, All Saints' Day, gathered people in cathedrals and squares. Mornings began with Mass, Gothic vaults, soaring toward heaven, filled with the scent of incense, the flicker of candles, and the choirs. Kyrie eleison! Men in woolen cloaks, women in headscarves, children shivering in the chill stood shoulder to shoulder, bound to eternity. But after prayers, celebrations began, blending faith and festivity. On St. Martin's Day in the 1470s, in Canterbury, peasants held torchlit processions. Flames danced in puddles, songs rang until midnight, and the aroma of roasted goose, a traditional dish, wafted over homes. People shared bread and ale, thanking the saint for the harvest. Games marked the day. In the Battle of Flowers, children and adults showered each other with rose, daisy, and cornflower petals, symbolizing life's triumph over death. In the mid-1470s, in Lincoln, a miracle play, St. George Slaying a Dragon, drew 1,000 souls. The dragon, crafted from canvas and branches, spewed smoke, and children squealed in delight. Even the stern bishop sang with the crowd, raising a goblet. Women held divinations. On the eve of Easter, they wove wreaths and cast them into rivers, believing the current foretold marriage. Men competed in archery or tug-of-war, their shouts drowning out the bells. These festivals bridged heaven and earth. The Church, condemning pagan dances, permitted joy that glorified God. After the Black Death of the mid-14th century, when death shadowed every home, festivals grew dearer. They reminded all that life was a gift. In the 1470s, Easter in York spanned 3 days. After Mass, people danced in the square, and priests gave bread to the poor. The toll of bells, the chant of choirs, the laughter of children, these were the sounds of hope enduring. Who, holding a torch in the night, did not feel light conquer darkness? Who, hearing the choir, did not believe hope lived? Such were the entertainments of the Middle Ages. Tournaments taught courage, fairs forged communities, bonfire festivals preserved ancient traditions, performances gave voice, feasts celebrated beauty, and religious festivals uplifted spirits. In these games, songs, and dances, the people of the 14th century found meaning that helped them endure a world of wars, plague, and hardship. Their laughter, their melodies, their contests, these are the echoes that carry through the centuries, reminding us that joy outshines darkness. What will linger in the hearts of those who hear this echo today?